Brothers and sisters, my name is Tom Holton, and it's great to be with you today. This is my YouTube channel where we talk about church history and doctrine. And I was thinking recently about the topic of an essay that I did many years ago when I was in university. And the topic of the essay that I had to write a piece on for my examination, one of my final examinations, was simply this: what do the strong owe the weak? Question mark. And that was a fascinating topic to me at the time, and it wasn't something I really thought about much up to that point. And of course, it really focused my mind as I did that examination. And I've never forgotten the title of that essay: what do the strong owe the weak? Question mark. There are many potential answers to that question, and depending on what perspective you take, depending on the context, depending on the meaning you attach to those words, there are many things we could say about whether the strong owe the weak anything. If so, what do they owe? In what context? In what situation? In what circumstances? But I got to thinking recently about this in a gospel context. And as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or as those who are interested in learning more about the Church, this is a relevant theme for the perspective of the gospel. What do the strong owe the weak? Do those who are strong in the faith, in testimony, in knowledge of the restored gospel, do they owe anything to those who aren't so strong, or those who are finding their way, those who are maybe stumbling or unsure? And it's a really interesting question, because according to the scriptures, we do have a responsibility. If we are strong in the faith, we have a responsibility to those who are not yet strong. And it's a covenant responsibility. We have a responsibility to bear the burdens of those who are burdened, to mourn with those who mourn, to comfort those who stand in need of comfort, to strengthen the feeble knees, to lift up the hands that hang down, to minister to those who are finding life challenging, to continue to minister, not just to minister once, but to continue to minister, to pray for others, to serve others, to bless others. And this is particularly significant in the context of those who are strong. I got to thinking about how the Lord gives us certain gifts, certain strengths, certain abilities in this life. So, for example, some people are very physically strong. They have this great physical propensity. I've often thought about how those who are physically strong have the opportunity, and I believe the responsibility, to help those who are not so strong, those who are physically weak. One obvious example of this is husbands and fathers who protect their spouses and protect their children, because they are generally bigger and stronger. That strength that they are given to them is given for a reason. It's not given for their own glory, their own ambition. It's not given to be wasted. It's not given simply, as an irrelevance. It is significant. And it's not given simply to, for curiosity or for the sake of personal ambition. It's given for a sacred purpose, which is to help and to strengthen, to bless the lives of those around us. So that physical strength is one very obvious example. And we can use that physical strength to help others, to protect others, to bless others, or we can use it in ways that are not good. And you can think about that yourself, how physical strength can be used to help. Firemen use their firefighters. They use their physical strength to save lives. That's a very obvious example. Okay, so physical strength is one aspect, and there are many things we could say about that, but I believe that the Lord expects us to use the gifts we've been given to bless and strengthen and serve and protect others If we're particularly blessed physically, what are we doing with that gift? What are we doing with that blessing? What about intellectual strength? There are some who are very strong intellectually. They're very smart. Are they using that intellectual strength to help, to bless, to serve? And there are many who do. Many, many millions who do. And it is thought. It gives us pause for thought. If we are blessed with intellectual strength, are we using that strength to help others, to assist those, particularly those who may not be as strong? Are we helping others to learn? And again, the applications of this principle, this understanding, are profound. What are we doing with those intellectual gifts that God may have given to us? Or maybe He hasn't given us intellectual gifts. Maybe we're benefiting from the intellectual gifts of others, from teachers, from mentors, from those who are leading us to have a greater curiosity, a greater understanding, a greater wisdom, a greater knowledge of things, all sorts of things, particularly the gospel, obviously, but many other things. Are we using our intellectual ability to lead others to Christ? Or are we using it to lead them away, to instill in others doubt or despair or worry or anxiety or confusion? And so this concept has been swirling around in my soul. What strength have we been given as individuals, as people, and what are we doing with it? One might also say, well, that's physical strength and that's intellectual strength. Some are given great emotional strength. They are very steady in a storm, very calm in a whirlwind. They are stable and very emotionally regulated and able to cope with difficulties without being particularly fazed. I believe that's a strength from the Lord, and I believe it's given to us to help others who may struggle emotionally. That those who are strong in emotional resilience, emotional well-being, emotional stability, can use that strength to assist others who may be struggling with emotional turmoil, with emotional volatility. I believe the Lord gives us every gift for a purpose, every talent, every strength, every capacity, every ability. It's not simply to remain latent. It's to be utilized, it's to be brought to the forefront of our lives, to the forefront of our ministry, to the forefront of our service. So that emotional strength, particularly in times of challenge, such as we live in now throughout the world, where people are being impacted emotionally in all sorts of ways. If we have emotional strength, let us use that to bless the lives of those who are struggling, to lift, to comfort, to console, to reassure. What about those who are socially strong, those who have the gift with people, those who have a great interest for people, those who are confident and able and leaders and influencers? I believe they have a responsibility to use their skills, to use their strength, to use their concern and regard in a positive, constructive way. In a gospel context, they are to use their strength to strengthen others. And this is a very interesting and powerful idea. The idea is not simply that we are given a gift, but there's a purpose, a sacred purpose for us being given that gift. It is what we do with that gift, and it's not simply for our own use, for our own purpose. It's not simply that we might have ambition or that we might gain something. It's not to be self-centered, it's to be other-centered. Now, I'm not saying we don't benefit from these gifts. Of course we do. But there are gifts like a candle. If I light a candle and then light other candles, the candles that other people hold, I'm not just holding on to my light. I'm not just lighting my own way. I'm lighting the lives and the paths and the destinies of others. So to light the world, we need to light the candles of others, to light the lives of others. And so in that context of social strength, our social ability is to influence others. It is to impact others. We're given a gift to make a difference. And I realize that isn't always easy. And sometimes we would like to impact the world more forcefully. But I believe the power of influence is powerful, and the power of our gifts can make a difference. Just think about a lot of the people we look up to and admire because of the things that they can do. Whether it be, I mean, ultimately we're talking about in a spiritual sense, but in every aspect of life, intellectually, physically, in sports, or in media, or entertainment, or education, or medicine, or law, or art, or science. All these things we think about people who've done very impressive things. One of the reasons we think it's good is because they've benefited others. And we have a higher regard, I believe, we have a higher regard for those who seek to benefit others, and not simply those who use their gift for their own self-indulgence, their own promotion, their own self-centered ideals or values or interests. We have a stronger regard for those who pour out their lives in service to others. So intellectually, physically, emotionally, socially, but we also have spiritually. And spiritually, I believe, is the pinnacle. It's the unifying force. It's that which brings alignment and harmony and synchronicity to our lives. It's that which brings everything else together in one great whole. And so I believe that if we are strong in all other ways, that is wonderful. But we need to be strong, or learn to be strong spiritually. And if we are strong spiritually, what are we doing with that strength? Is it just for display? Is it just for show? Is it just to feel good about ourselves? I don't think so. I think that strength that we are given, strength of faith, strength of testimony, strength of knowledge, strength of understanding, strength that comes through experience, through revelation, through humility, through character development, the strength of knowing the Lord, of knowing the prophets are called of God, the strength of knowing the Word of God, the strength of being familiar with the priesthood principles of power, being endowed with power, being endowed with love, being endowed with compassion and with courage and with kindness and with faith and love and mercy and service and hope and charity and gentleness and meekness and love unfeigned. These spiritual endowments of character, they make us strong, not in an egotistical, arrogant, haughty way, not in a self-centered, conceited way, but they make us able to bless and benefit and strengthen others. So this strength in the Spirit, what are we to do with that if we are given that strength? I believe it's clear we are to strengthen the weak. We are to help our brothers and sisters. The word "owe" is interesting because the word "owe" can almost seem like an obligation. It can seem like you have no choice. It can seem like it's an absolute duty. And duty is a wonderful thing. I prefer to think of it as something we get to choose to do. And I think there's much more potency and power in something we choose to do than in something we feel compelled to do. And I think that's the great genius of agency. Agency is not given to us so that we can do whatever we like. It is given to us so that we can freely choose, because God loves a free will offering. Anything else is more like a tax than an offering. He doesn't want robots. He doesn't want us to be animals. He doesn't want us to be puppets. He wants us to be free, and to be free means our offering is free. If we give him love, it's because we want to. And that is powerful. If we serve others freely, that's a free will offering. That is a pure offering without guile. It is sincere, it is genuine, it is authentic, and it is powerful. So this idea of giving our strength to others, pouring out our strength to others spiritually, so that they might be benefited, that our love can touch them, can reach them, that our knowledge can increase their knowledge, that our faith can light their faith, that we can light a fire within their souls. That for me has been the legacy of the restored gospel in my life. I want to read a verse to you from the scriptures. This is Doctrine and Covenants, section 84, which is a great revelation, but this is a counsel and direction given to the early church almost 200 years ago now, but it applies to this point we're talking about here, this idea of strength. What is the purpose of being strong? It's not just so we can do what we like. It's not so we can seem important or seem flashy or seem impressive in the eyes of others. It's not so we can be famous or distinguished or stand above others. It's given to us so that we can be a strength, a benefit. We can offer a well-being help to those around us. We can be a great benefit to our fellow beings. That's why it's given. Let's read this verse, section 84 of the Doctrine and Covenants, verse 106. And if any man among you be strong in the Spirit, let him take with him that is weak, that he may be edified in all meekness, that he may become strong also. Now I love this. I love this idea that if you're strong in the Spirit, if you've been given that endowment of strength, if you've prayed and studied and sacrificed and served, and as a result the Lord has poured into you great strength, spiritual strength that not everyone possesses. Not everyone has the same spiritual strength. Some are strong in the Spirit. So if there are some who are strong in the Spirit, and there clearly are in this latter day work, let him take with him that is weak. So in the ministry, that strong person is going to be accompanied by someone who's not strong in the Spirit, someone who's weak in the Spirit, someone who hasn't yet grown into that position of strength. But it doesn't end there. He takes with him this other brother, or a strong sister takes a weak sister with her. They go together, that he may be edified in all meekness. So the weak are going to be edified in all meekness, which means edified, made like unto an edifice, made holy, set apart, consecrated, sanctified, uplifted. They're going to be turned into something better than what they were previously. Like a sacred edifice, a sacred temple, a holy place, they are made into something better. And in meekness, not in haughtiness, not in pride, not in arrogance, not in conceit. They are going to be edified in meekness. So, and this is a key point for the Lord. The Lord has given us that strength, not that we might be haughty, but that we might be meek. And then it says this, that he may become strong also. So this idea that the weak person is initially weak, but because of his association with him who is strong, he becomes strong himself. He is made strong. He may become strong. So not just act strong, but become strong. So both of them become strong in the Spirit. That is the Lord's plan. That is how the Lord operates. As we associate with those who are stronger than us in spiritual things, we become stronger. And so always this question of, what do the strong owe the weak? Well, in spiritual terms, the Lord has given guidance and direction that the strong would accompany the weak, and that through that ministry, through that united service, those who are weak will be edified in meekness, in humility, in contrite faith, and they will become strong so that both persons will be strong. And that's the pattern the Lord follows up and down his latter-day church, with missionaries, with apostles, with spouses, with families and siblings. The Lord is always raising up someone who is strong in order to help someone who is weak. And again, in our lives, there are all times when we are weak, and we rely on the strength of others to build us up, and then we become strong, and then we can turn around and help others who are weak, for them to become strong, and then they can help someone else who is weak to become strong. And this is a pattern of life. And sometimes in life we'll find ourselves in a great position of strength, and other times we might feel weaker, needing that help. And I find the Lord always gives us the help we need. If we're strong, he will give us someone to help. And if we are weak, he will help us by strengthening us. And so it's that duality that the Lord is always working through us to bring about that great work. How grateful I am for these principles. I would encourage each one of us to use our strengths and gifts to bless the lives of those around us, those who may not be as strong as we are in that particular area. And also that we are humble enough to learn strength from those who are stronger than us in the areas in which we are struggling or needing help. So we can receive help and we can give help. We can do both. And eventually, in the Lord's plan, we will become strong in all things with His help, with His power, because He ultimately is the mighty and strong one. He's strong in everything, and He can make us strong in all things. I'm so grateful for these principles. I'm so grateful that we have an honorable covenant, a sacred duty, a loving concern to bless the lives of those around us. And I hope we won't regard that as a onerous burden only, but that we will regard it as a joyful opportunity, a precious privilege to bless the lives of others. This is the legacy, the history, the doctrine of this restored church. Let us reach out, let us lift up, let us bless, and let us be lifted up, that we may all become strong. I hope that you have a wonderful day.